not rocket. Muted.
Yeah, no, I didn't start. I didn't do the whole timeline today. So welcome everyone.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I forgot.
My thing just
You
changed.
jumped right in, huh?
Yeah, I just jumped right in today. Forgot everyone. Sorry
Okay.
for being so unprofessional.
Oh my gosh.
What's me?
You're mute. You're
Am I?
who? Yeah, someone's can't or mic is echoing.
Oh, is it me?
I don't know.
How's that?
Hello.
Hear it pretty bad. Yeah. That was it. Wait, no, I still hear it.
Better?
Hello.
Worse?
Hello.
Anything?
Mic check. Yeah.
No?
It stopped. Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Anyway.
Off to a great start.
Okay. Well,
Today we are covering the Anglo-Spanish War.
They are. I know nothing.
Yeah.
it's okay, John.
Yeah.
John.
Anyway, so
John Snow
Caleb,
joke.
give us some background, please, on.
So yeah, so this is actually kind of a really funny thing because it's funny the dog's here because Dog and I have had a conversation where I've said this rarely happened, and we're about to talk about our first conversation about history with Dog or with Daimyo is going to be about one of the cases that this happened. So this was a religious war that took place over the course of like 20 years between Spain and England. And it was because Spain, being a Catholic country, had to defend the faith. So prior to Elizabeth I becoming Queen of England, her father, Henry VIII, was king. And Henry VIII wanted to have a son, which he just wouldn't happen.
That's the one that kept chopping wives' heads off, right?
He divorced Catherine, but before being able to divorce Catherine, he tried to get an annulment from the Pope, and the Pope would not let him annul his marriage with Catherine of Aragon, so which is one of the kingdoms of Spain. So what he broke away, he broke the country away from the Catholic Church and created the Church of England in a movement called the Protestant Reformation. And so he became the leader of the church, and he declared his marriage to Catherine annulled and divorced her.
Quick question on current day. Are Protestants the majority religion over there? Still
over there, where?
In England.
Yeah, where?
In England?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The church, I think the Church of England is still the largest church in the UK.
And that's Protestant?
So the Catholics are, you've got the Church of England, the Church of Scotland, and then Ireland is still Catholic. And there's still some left footers in, which is supposed to be a derogatory word for Catholics. I don't get it. I don't understand how that's derogatory.
I don't either. And if I'm not mistaken, like Roman Catholicism has been around longer than Protestants.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Roman Catholicism was the church.
Yeah, that was the original.
The Catholic is a word that means universal, which is why for a long time, when at the beginning of, Daimyo, you were Catholic growing up, so you know this. At the beginning of service, y'all say the Apostles' Creed.
Yes.
Protestants, depending on the denomination, say the Nicene Creed. The Apostles' Creed says, I believe in one Catholic Church. The Nicene Creed says, I believe in one something church. I forget what the word is, but they take out Catholic and they change it to a different word. So that's all because of this Reformation that happens in the 1560s. Oh, hang on. Hang on 1 second.
It might be you who's echoing, by the way.
Me?
Yeah, because I'm still hearing it pretty bad.
That's so weird because I've actually got my speakers down more than I would normally have them down.
I hope. Well, as long as it's not.
Let me see if I have the stream going. I might have the stream.
I don't hear anything, Daimyo. I don't hear any echo.
Do you hear?
No. I'm a complete retard.
You have the stream going, don't you?
Oh, I 100% have that playing. So thanks for fucking up my stream. God damn it! You will never work on this channel again.
Yourself?
No, you too. For embarrassing me like that.
So
sorry, go on with what you're saying.
And so what happened was when Henry VIII died, his he did have a son. He had a son with Henry VIII had a son with Jane Seymour, who was his sixth wife, I believe. But he was very sickly. And so he ended up actually hang on a second.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, so he died.
That got
so
these guys?
Edward died, and because Lady Jane, his mother, was Catholic, she named Mary Queen. Now Mary was
had a little lamb.
So Mary, also known as Bloody Mary, was Queen of England for 5 years, and she, being Catholic, decided she was going to undo everything her father did. So and she turned.
Let me pause you there.
Yeah,
because this might play a role in it. Despite their family connections, Philip had once been married to Elizabeth's half-sister, Mary. The two royals had served political and religious differences and had engaged in a Cold War for much of the 1560s and 1570s. Is this the same Mary?
So Mary is Mary the First, Bloody Mary, and Philip was I think Philip II of Spain. And so she attempted to enforce basically just a complete volte-face to the religion in England and convert everyone to Catholicism, to the point that she actually burned alive 3 Protestant bishops. In fact,
not good.
Yeah, in fact, the place that they were burned alive is marked by a bronze cross in.
What do you think, Antonio?
Good. There is one other thing I want to look up real quick before we move on.
Sure.
Just side note, this was a terrific purchase with the touchpad, because I can be over here lounging back and not need my mouse.
Nice.
You have a touchpad?
Yeah.
Let pull that up again. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, like a wireless.
Yeah, it's my whole keyboard.
But you have a mouse pad.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. It's a good purchase.
Okay, I'm really glad I looked that up before I said it, because I was wrong. Okay, so we can keep going. So what happens is Elizabeth eventually regains power, locks her sister in a
tower.
In the tower. So Elizabeth had been in hiding for a while. I think she was hiding for like 6 or 7 years. Because the idea basically was that, okay, I need to run away because if Edward doesn't have me killed, Mary will. And so they imprisoned Mary in the Tower of London.
And this is still pre
Armada, yeah.
No, okay, that's where I was going.
So this would have been about 1558.
Okay.
So they and then I believe chopped her head off. I believe they cut her head off.
Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she essentially was becoming a tyrant.
Yeah. So she
Right.
was doing what Spain wanted them to do, and not what England wanted them to do.
Because of her marriage with Philip.
Yes. And so basically what ended up happening is after Elizabeth had Mary killed, Spain went and Philip went, yeah, no, that's sorry. We're not going to just let that slide. So they started basically having a Cold War almost.
Yeah, I mean, this article mentions that the Cold War, and it says, for much of the 1560s and 70s. So,
and this Cold War came to a head in 1588.
Right, and they leave it pretty vague, but they say
when because at the time Spain had the largest navy in the world. They were the most powerful water country in the world. No
Naval.
one could touch them. Naval, thank you. So they decided, you know what, we're going to invade England.
Hold on here, because I want to kind of add on to the tensions and the build up to this.
Absolutely.
And this is partly what I was reading earlier today. This is a little bit more simplified, but they're talking about tensions building between Spain and England, the Cold War, and it sounds like Elizabeth began allowing essentially pirates to conduct raids on Spanish fleets, transferring treasure and whatnot from their American settlements, which I think kind of added to that, the fuel, right, to the fire.
Well, so war. No one had American settlements yet, because the first English settlement is under Elizabeth.
Well, we know Spain's been conquering South America long before that.
I had the wires crossed. I was hearing Spain taking English stuff. Not
it was England taking over, or not taking over, but allowing.
Yeah, they were issuing letters of marque to to basically pirates.
Exactly, like Sir Francis Drake is what they call it, as an example here. So continue with what you were.
Protestantism had become rather popular because it kind of went back to some more older roots of Christianity. It wasn't really about the papal authority and the papal states. It was more about your relationship with God. So that has started. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wanted to add on to that. Being raised, you being you're a Southern Baptist, right?
Yep.
So me being raised, do you say you're washed?
No, I'm a WASP. I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
That's funny.
Protestantism is just all the denominations that aren't Catholic.
I thought you were making that's good to know.
But it's also a Baptist joke. I am washed.
Yeah, no, that's where I thought you were taking it from. It was like, I'm washed too, motherfucker. But so my point that I wanted to bring up though is that, like, being raised in the Catholic Church, I don't know if it's an indoctrination thing or a lack of understanding, but I always, growing up, wondered about the different sects of Christianity, and always considered anyone outside of Catholics like a different religion almost.
Well, in a way, it is a bit of a different religion. So I obviously, we don't want to get too bogged down in this, but it is an important thing to kind of discuss because it is the cause of this war. And so for Catholicism, the highest authority on this planet is the Pope.
Yes.
And the Pope had started issuing edicts, basically informing the several kings of the Christian world that they were below the Pope. That they can run their country how they want, but if the Pope says something, you better listen to me.
Okay.
And a lot of people didn't like that. In fact, later, I think we'll talk about it later, but like in a couple weeks or something like that. But one of these very same edicts, they're called papal bulls, caused the October the 13th of 1466, where the Paris temple for the Knights Templar was ransacked, and the Knights Templar in Paris at the time were all hung and burned at the stake because the Philip the something. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, Philip. I think it was Philip as well. Not this Philip, obviously. But Philip, the King of France, was unhappy that the Pope was trying to gain more authority in France. And so we see this kind of give and take between different kings and the Pope, and even city-states and the Pope throughout, 1300 to 1700s throughout European history. It's a really amazing topic to talk about, but it's so dense that you could almost only pick one issue at a time.
Well, we could set that up for our next
So
into the rabbit hole.
This so the Protestantism started growing in Spain. And so Philip II, being defender of the Catholic faith, decided that he could no longer allow England to spread their false religion in his country. So he decided that he was going to attack England. And so the decision was to sail the mighty Spanish Armada up and go through, is it the River Thames?
So it says here, at least, the Spanish plan called for this great and most fortunate navy to sail from Lisbon, Portugal, to Flanders, where it would rendezvous with 30,000 crack troops. Led by
we're actually a little early. We're actually a little early. So okay. I just figured this out too. I have a kind of a timeline up, and I've forgotten about this. So there's also.
You want to share your screen?
Nah.
Okay.
I won't sound as nearly as smart if I share my screen. So while all this is going on, while this kind of Cold War between Spain and England is going on, something called the 80 Years' War is going on as well. And the 80 Years' War was if I remember correctly, it was basically a war between all of the royal houses of Europe. And it was mainly fought in the Netherlands. It was kind of a Dutch revolt against their royal line. And because, all the royal houses are intermarried, everyone started having an interest in it. So in like 85 or something like that, the English joined on the side of the royalty in Dutch in the Netherlands. And so that caused Spain to join on the side of the Dutch resistance. And it's a whole nother proxy war type thing. You see that in our Cold War with the stuff that went on in, Vietnam, Korea, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so eventually we have the Spanish Armada. And that was a result of the execution of Mary.
Right, because they essentially killed, going back a few steps, they essentially executed the wife of King Philip II, who was of Spain, correct?
Hang on a second.
You reading the wrong timeline?
No, I'm not. I'm being dumbfounded by something because I had always associated Mary the First, who was Queen of England prior to Elizabeth, with Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, Queen of Scots was the mother to James the First and James the Sixth of Scotland. They were one and the same. And he was the first king of Britain. Because prior to 1603, there were separate kingdoms. There was Scotland, Wales, and England. And then the Stuarts united the three into one Britain Commonwealth, one British Empire. So what my issue is, I'm sitting here trying to figure out whether or not I've just completely fucked up my history. I don't think I have. I'm pretty sure Mary the First is Queen of Scots.
Yeah, and we can quickly just do a quick search because that could
be your Jamie.
Yeah, but I'm already on the tab.
Gotcha.
See, a real Jamie would have already been researching it, and
I just came back.
uh,
Why don't we ease up there, Dan?
yeah, I already have a Jamie. His name's Ronnie, but I need to get him backstage. He'll never be allowed on the live stream, but he can sit backstage.
I see.
Queen of Scots, right? Yes. Okay, I am right. Oh my gosh.
Quicker.
So this is how her claim was.
He got me.
Yeah. As a great-granddaughter of Henry VII of England, Mary had once claimed Elizabeth's throne as her own and was considered the legitimate sovereign ruler of England by many of England's Catholics.
Okay, so it was the Catholic population that considered her.
Yes. So
okay.
That's the only issue. See, with presidents, it's easy because not only do they have numbers, but they all have different names.
Yeah, and with kings and queens, they all have the same names, but you have to think about too their lineage and the bloodlines.
And then with these people, it's even more annoying because not only do you have to think about lineages and names, but you also have to think about the house and the time period because there's several Edwards, but Edward the First is not Edward the First.
Right.
That's why James is weird because James in England was called James the First because he was the first James that ruled England, but he was the sixth James that ruled Scotland. So he was James the First and sixth. So okay, apologies for that. I wasn't as prepared as I hoped I was.
It's all good, man.
Let's go back to the Spanish Armada, which is really what kind of defines this war.
Let me just start with the History Channel description of it, and we can get into the weeds after. So, in May of 1588, after several years of preparation, the Spanish Armada set sail from Lisbon under the command of Duke of Medina Sidonia. When the 130 ship fleet was sighted off of the England coast later that July, Howard and Drake raced to confront with a force of 100 English vessels. So I take it this is the first, or is this the only battle of?
So there's 4 or 5 naval battles that are the big instances of this war.
So this kicks it off then.
Yeah, this is the one, it's technically there's something else kicked it off. Like a year before this, Francis Drake had sunk like 37 ships. 37.
And he was the pirate that was mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, so he wasn't a pirate. He was a privateer.
Sir. So he was a knight.
Yeah, he was a knighted. He was one of Elizabeth's advisors. Francis Drake was one of Elizabeth's advisors.
She basically allowed him to go do privateering, essentially.
Yeah. Because he had been so necessary.
Influential.
influential in her in getting her where she was.
Well, and that might be so. It's saying here too, led by Drake and Lord Charles Howard, the Royal Navy assembled a fleet, 40 warships. But then they're saying that they met the Spanish Armada with 100.
Drake and Howard are the ones that sunk those 37 ships the year earlier, just after Mary Queen of Scots was beheaded.
Okay, so and
Mary
that's
Queen of Scots also being a descendant of Robert the Bruce II.
Oh, that's interesting.
King of Scots.
I do know Robert the Bruce. So English fleet and Spanish Armada met for the first time. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're talking about. So that's pretty much kicked off the historical timeline of like when the actual when this war started. And the rest of that was build up essentially.
Yeah. So this was like the big. It's the kind of thing where the middle school and high school textbook is only going to tell you about the sinking of the Spanish Armada, because that's the big thing.
Okay, and then it says here, August 6th, the Armada had successfully dropped anchor at Calais.
Is it Calais?
Calais, yeah. At Calais Roads on the coast of France, where Medina Sidonia hoped to rendezvous with the Duke of Parma's invasion army. And do you have any background on the Duke of Parma?
It sounds French as hell. So what I'm going to assume is that, let's see. Yeah. He was a Duke of the House of Bourbon. So he was the Duke of one of the royal houses of the Royal House of France.
Hey, zoom in on that map, Star Wars Dog. I'd like to see how this kind of played out.
This is the way that they go around England is how a lot of people attack England. They usually start up there at the bottom and they just go around it and start sinking ships. This might be one of those times you can't zoom in.
Well, if you right click that image, you might be able to open a new tab and then zoom in. But I get the gist of what you're saying. They started down here.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So what?
So they started down in Spain, and it looks like they start all the way down here. Port here, start moving their way up.
Yep,
surround. Okay, I see what you're saying. And then I imagine all these arrows are kind of where.
So the arrows are the directions of where they would have gone. The little cross swords are the battles. So they, the idea was that the Catholic kings would team up and defeat the evil Protestant redhead. So he landed there waiting for the army that I'm going to assume it was a King Louis. There's so many of them that you're pretty safe assuming that. Yeah, I'm going to assume it was a King Louis. So the plan was that they would.
I'm sorry, I need to take a call for work.
All right.
You guys just continue on.
Yep. Okay. Real quick, I'm curious, what is Rolo likes Queequee? Am I missing something? So the well, I'm not gonna say that out loud. Oui. So the idea was that the what's his name? Philip would send his armada, collect the invasion army promised by Louis of France, and they would invade up the Thames. Is what I'm gonna assume it was the Thames. The Thames is the main river throughout England. So it's a pretty fair assumption, especially since by now they're in London and not in Winchester. So they basically what ended up happening is, can you go back to that map? You had? Sorry, what?
I said I had my mic muted.
Were you saying something?
Yeah, I was.
What'd you say?
Shit. I forgot now.
So one of the things that's so incredible about this, and it's one of the reasons why England has withstood invasion for so long, is not only does the English Channel provide
natural defense.
Yeah, natural defenses, but the weather.
Well, that's
there
what
have been so many times that France, we see Spain now, Denmark, Rome tried to invade England, and the weather, whether by God's grace or just changing the tides, the weather just defends England. So they were initially supposed to land and start, marching through and killing everybody, but the weather pushed the ships off course for like 3 weeks and allowed the Navy fleet, the English fleet, to catch up. There is a hang on, let me reread this because this is one of my favorite things that happens because of this.
On this here?
No, on my screen.
Okay. Let's see here. I was gonna ask what kind of ships was the Armada made up of?
So I was trying to get the name of those ships because they are they're almost exclusively Spanish. You don't really see ships with that big rear that you do in Spain's navies. Yes, go ahead, laugh, say it. I like big butts.
I cannot lie.
I don't know if they were caravels. They do look like it. The ships that the Santa Maria was a caravel, so it's very likely that they were caravels or some Spanish frigates, maybe some. They wouldn't have been related to a. Is this them? Yeah, galleons.
So yeah, this is what I have here. All of these ships.
And this is which squadron is this?
Scroll
up a bit.
Squadron of Portugal.
So this is Portugal's, which would make sense. They're all built in Portugal.
Oh, really?
So the one below it was the Squadron of Castile, which would have been one of the Spanish houses.
Okay. Yeah, here's Castile.
And they are also galleons.
What is this?
Which one? Patache? Oh, now?
Now?
It's probably some sort of support ship. It looks like it's a...
What about this?
It's a Carrack. Oh, so shit. This one was so a now is a Carrack. I kind of forget how you pronounce it.
So here's images of them here.
Yeah, it's those ones right there. It's characterized with the big, thin hull, a tall. What's the word for the back of a ship?
Stern.
Thank you. And it wasn't really a war vessel. Obviously, there would have been cannons on board.
Look at that. That is so cool.
Dude, I mean, how much fun would it be? I mean, I guess it wouldn't be incredible fun doing it back then. But if you
Right.
could like have one with modern amenities and still sail the 7 oceans or 7 seas, I mean,
Yeah. That shit's wild. I would definitely want a inflatable raft with us.
what's up, RG?
Wow.
So you had carracks, galleons.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
Oh, don't worry about it, dude. We
Business
were just
comes
discussing the
first.
types of ships in the Spanish Armada.
Perfect. What did I miss? Can you just give me a quick little 20-second
Just
recap?
really kind of like, so the plan was for the Spanish Armada, which was created by a Catholic king, to sail over to another Catholic nation, which was France, collect an invasion force, and then go attack the Protestant redhead.
See, I was just going to ask if France ever got involved in this.
Yeah, so that's why the Duke of Bourbon was the one that had that invasion fleet you were talking about.
Okay.
Real quick, I hate to make this super political, but dog, if you scroll up just a little bit in that top left-hand corner, you'll see the article about what oh, sorry, not top left-hand. Now it's in the bottom left-hand corner. But that's the tall ship they want to start making so that giant kites.
One?
Yeah, that one. So that giant kites can start propelling our cargo ship.
Yeah. That's
Remember that?
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, so you haven't seen that article that's
this is the rabbit hole, so we can jump down wherever we want.
You haven't seen that article that's like giant kites might soon be able to propel our cargo ships.
Yeah, wind-powered boats.
Yeah. Oh, who would have thought of that?
For green energy.
I was going to say, I think I know what political party was suggesting this. Can you imagine a nuclear-powered boat?
Oh, yeah, I can. Would you like a picture of a nuclear-powered boat?
Oh, I wish that wasn't great.
Wait, pull. Do they have designs for those?
Yeah, here's one right here.
Yeah, pull that up. Or
you want that back up? That Forbes one?
Yeah, no, here's a nuclear powered ship right here.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Oop. No, I said I got him.
Yeah, there's a bunch of nuclear powered ships right there. The United States fucking Navy.
Yeah. I mean running on nuclear, not blasting them.
No, it runs. It's got two nuclear engines in there.
Damn, bro, you're gonna be.
It's the largest ship in the world by displacement.
You're a fake ass fan, RG Energy. I watch every single one of your streams uninterrupted. Fake ass fan.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to call him out.
Uninterrupted. That's the part that got me.
Yeah. Unless I'm working, which is every stream.
Just before you hopped in, I was trying to reread this thing. They so they had medals struck after the Armada failed. And being religious myself, one of the medals that was struck was inscribed in both Latin and Hebrew, and it said Yahweh blew and they were scattered.
So what's that? What is that term? Medal struck?
Yeah. So one of the medals struck means cast. So they cast a bunch of medals. So England had a bunch of medals made, and on one of the medals was inscribed Yahweh blew and they were scattered. And it was seen as a sign from God that the weather had come and dispersed this powerful armada in time for England to be prepared, because England didn't know that this was happening. Oh, I think it's bathroom break.
A quick bathroom break.
So, oh, you might want this.
My bad. Forgot my beer.
This is in Spanish. I can't read that. Never mind.
Oh, here, pull it up. I'll help you out. Where's Nikki when you need her? God
Well,
damn
I
it.
did not say it.
Good job, Juan.
I did not say it.
I did.
Oh yeah, they were asking earlier where Daimyo went, and I was like, well, he got caught trying to hop the
Yeah.
border again.
Ice.
Oh yeah.
Ice knocked on my door. I had to show them my papers.
So do you have
Derailed.
papers or a green card?
I got a work visa.
What we're good at.
So wrong.
Oh my gosh. So you're sponsored.
Yeah. Yeah, they clipped barbed wire for me, actually. I didn't even have to hop a fence.
Oh my god.
Anyway, back to history.
Yeah. Let's get that history article pulled back up.
The one that I had?
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
a good one.
Yeah, it actually is good. It gives us like the basic outlines. So I think we ended at the Armada had successfully dropped anchor.
Yeah. At Calais.
Okay. Fire ships scattered the Armada.
50.
Desperate to prevent the Spanish from uniting their forces, Howard and Drake devised a last-ditch plan to scatter the Armada. At midnight on August 8th, the English set 8 empty vessels ablaze and allowed the wind and tide to carry them toward the Spanish fleet hunkered at, you said Calais? Is that it?
Calais, yeah.
Calais? Or it's probably
Now,
Calais.
Calais roads might be slightly different, but I would imagine Calais is a port in Spain.
Okay,
in
so
France.
so
And so I
sudden
imagine Calais roads is very close.
so sudden arrival of the fire ships caused a wave of panic to descend over the Armada. Several vessels cut their anchors to avoid catching fire. The entire fleet was forced to flee to open sea, which I imagine gave them a huge advantage. Once it's scattering across the ocean, I'm sure they had English defenses kind of prepared and ready for all directions, right? That's a guess. That's a guess on my behalf.
Say that one more time.
So once they start to scatter, I'm sure they weren't in an organized attack formation. So they're scattering. I would imagine, the English probably set their fleet up to where they could capture, straying ships and whatnot.
One thing we have to remember is one of the things that made Nelson so amazing in the Battle of Trafalgar and the Battle of the Nile in the early 1800s was that he changed the way naval warfare was fought. So for a very long time, including this period, basically what you would have done is you would have lined your ships up and you would have exchanged gunfire until someone gave up. And so that's still what happened here. I'm sure we can find spaghetti of the battle. If you didn't know, the map that shows how a battle went is called spaghetti.
Jamie, could you try pulling that up while we move on a bit?
What kind of spaghetti are we looking for?
It's not marinara.
Just a map. A map of what the battle would have looked like.
Battle. Maybe look up.
What?
Battle of the Gravelines. Map. Yeah, because it's this battle.
So prepared, right?
There you go.
It's not quite the spaghetti I was looking for.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to
to
make out. Caleb, are you reading this accurately? That map looks like it was made a couple centuries ago.
Well,
so
let me try to find something else.
Well,
the
go
Battle
on.
of the Grapevines is probably what's that next entry on that thing say?
Speech to the troops at Tilbury.
Yeah, so the next entry is going to be where where the armadas actually clashed. The 100 English ships versus the about 150 Spanish ships.
So they were actually outnumbered.
The English, yeah.
And ended up taking down the Armada, which is
Yep.
what you were talking about before, is how they changed the strategy of naval warfare.
No,
Correct?
so that was I brought that up because that's what Nelson did at Trafalgar in 300 years later. I brought that up to emphasize how at this point what probably happened is the English officers allowed the Spanish Navy to get back out to sea, and then that's when they attacked. Because it was still a very much what's the word? Chivalrous thing to do, that you don't stab a guy in the back. And that's what it would have been. I mean, the use of the fire ships was to disrupt the ability to get the infantry from the Duke of Bourbon.
It's like I'm printing it.
Yeah, for real. I wonder who scribed that.
Here comes the definition. There we go.
What?
I don't
what definition?
really know what you're trying to achieve by looking at this, but
I think.
Well, so I was hoping
the siege,
you know what?
right?
I was hoping what we'd be able to get is a spaghetti that is the same thing that you can get with the Battle of Trafalgar. You can see how the ships laid out. You can see what directions they went and all that.
Right.
I figured someone would have made one for the for this battle, but I guess they didn't.
So I just happened to come across this. I forget in what. I think I was just actually looking up. I forget. I was looking up random battles throughout history, and this one kind of caught my eye. This is a fairly well known part of history, right? Because I don't consider myself. Yeah. I don't consider myself like a huge history buff. I'm just highly interested in it. So I like to find stuff that.
I mean, it's the kind of stuff where, I would say most people know that Elizabeth defeated Philip when she sunk most of the Spanish Armada in 1588. But after that, how many people are going to know that part of the Armada was sunk when the weather changed, that they dispersed the fleet from getting the Duke of Bourbon soldiers using fire ships? I mean, that's going to be kind of the more PhDs and things like that.
That's like the term fire ships that's to be taken literally, correct?
Yeah,
like
I'm really happy you said that.
They set ablaze ships and sent them into the fleet.
Yeah, so this is if you give me just a second, I can show you what a fire ship would have looked like.
What type is it?
No. So the type doesn't really matter.
They were just they were smaller rowboats, I would imagine.
No.
Oh, they set ablaze legitimate ships.
So give me 1 second. I need to switch accounts.
You have an alt account? Is that where you
I have my my personal account, and then I have Kings of Edge.
Yeah.
So I've got a
Where's
couple
my playlist?
Here, if you'd like to see.
Library. That's what I'm looking for. Library.
Just pull it up, dog, while we're waiting.
So I've got the old galleon.
Oh, you mean like different types of ships?
So that's the Spanish galleon.
Right.
Right. You can see the flag.
Yeah. And then this is that what do we say now?
That looks like an English ship.
That's Caravel. Caravel, something like that.
Yeah. This one. Carvel. Yeah. So that's that. And then I got what was this one? I'm sorry. Give me just a second. This one was a
it's French.
That was this here. The Petach? I
Uh,
don't know.
well, it's French, so you got to add like 90 letters. It's probably like Pilochet.
Oh yeah, a pile of shea. That's it there. That's what I
A
found.
pile of shit.
I meant more.
I've dropped a couple of those. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And this is the no, I think this is the pile of shea. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, these were interesting ships. I really like this one. This is really nope. I mean, that's magnificent, but this is really interesting. Like a very deep cut belly come up. Like, I mean, you'd be sitting up here at the helm saying, "I can't see fucking shit out of this thing."
Oh yeah, well that's why some ships. The thing about the Titanic that was so interesting is there were actually, I think it's 4 steering wheels. One steering wheel was at the back, as it would be, but there were 2 on either sides up at the front, and there was one that I think overlooked everything, and they all basically sent signals to the guy that was actually steering the boat.
Mm.
So I think that's one of the way. I can't imagine that they just came up with that idea out of nowhere in 1905 when they were building the thing. I imagine it's probably something that came out of
Necessity.
stuff that they did in the past.
So
Oh, I see.
did we cover how the weather bests the Armada, or did we?
Yeah, so I brought
touched
that
on
up.
it. Yeah.
It had,
Damn, they lost over 2,000 men.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
How many ships though?
That's
Or is it just kind of like unknown?
Well, yeah, because so they had 150. How many can crew each ship?
I'd
How
say
many different types of ships?
125 souls.
Damn.
How many souls on a galleon? Because most of their ships would have been galleons.
Right.
Just pulled up a bunch of Sea of Thieves stuff.
Funny.
Well, I mean, how many men does it take to
So,
run a galleon?
This
Like 50?
from pirates.net says 200 and 400 men was the typical crew for a galleon.
So they dropped like what, 10?
Yeah, so probably about 10 to 15 ships.
That's what I was thinking.
But
Yeah,
then it could have been more ships, but other ships managed to pick up some of the crew.
So I've got a galleon here from the
Sea of Thieves.
Let me see. From the you're making me pronounce words I'm not going to be able to do. Castile Squadron, and one of their big uns, St. Cristobal, galleon, 700 tons. It had 36 guns on it, and it had a crew of 166.
Yeah, so that's right around that.
With 202 troops on it.
Yeah, with 202 troops.
That would have been
I see.
320 or 318 people on board.
18, yeah.
So I mean, I would say 5 to 10 ships probably dropped during this, right?
Right.
That's fair, I think.
That's some rough shit.
Should we?
All right. So
do you guys have anything to comment on this part of the timeline?
So I finally got the fire ship thing.
Oh yeah.
There's a British author a while back that wrote a book called Horatio Hornblower, and he wrote a series of them, and A&E eventually made a TV show out of some of them, and this is the second one. It was called The Fire Ships here in the U.S., and it was called Examination for Lieutenant in the U.K. And so what we're going to see here is after it clears, you'll see a little bit of a ship, and you'll see just kind of how on the left is a ship called the Indefatigable. It was a English frigate probably 25 guns, and on the right will be a fire ship.
Mm.
Pause it for the copyright. Come on, Owen Grifford. Right there. So this is an English frigate right here. And
Okay.
this would have been the Spanish fire ship, packed with all of the grape shot and gunpowder in the hold. You set it afire,
Turns into a grenade.
turn all of the sails to full, and aim it straight. You jam the wheel too, so that it can't move. So the point is that
Vehicle-borne IED, basically.
might happen right here. Yeah, so just before that popped up, you saw that explosion.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the other scene where it happens in the movie, but what happens is they use them to disrupt supplies for the English Navy, and so they were used a lot by Spain. France didn't really use them, and I thought England hadn't either, but I guess England used them during this. But yeah, that's just a little bit of a idea of what a fire ship would have looked like.
Mm. Just real quick, so that that galleon we were just looking at for the size of the crew.
Mhm.
Here's one from the Portugal fleet. 161 crew members and 317 troops.
Whew. That's a
a
lot of souls on board.
That's a 1,000-ton galleon. My goodness.
Well, and then what you also got to remember, though, is when it comes to ships, I don't think tonnage is the weight. I think it's displacement, isn't it?
That I am not sure.
We need someone from the Navy. Because and just before World War II, we had that big naval treaty around the world, and navies were they had to follow certain guidelines to tonnage, and tonnage was based on displacement and not weight of the ship. You good, Daimia? You good?
Yeah, sorry, I had to grab something.
Okay. Where were we?
Yeah, so I've got this is referring to carrying capacity, apparently.
Okay.
But let me type in 1,500 ships. Okay, probably a measurement of the ship's size, which can be expressed in terms of either volume or weight. The word ton implies from the French. Okay, whatever. 13th century. Okay. So yeah, it's kind of going volume or weight. So must be like the just the sheer size of it, really. Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty. And was that a known tactic, Caleb, for naval battle?
Ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been. See, that's what's so unique about things like the Spanish Armada, Trafalgar, the Nile. Naval battles they didn't usually have 400 ships. Like for instance, the Battle of Flamesborough. The Battle of Flamesborough is a battle that took place during the American Revolution between John Paul Jones and several different British ships. John Paul Jones had a fleet of like 6 ships, and they were chasing a fleet of like 100 merchant ships. And so the Countess of Scarborough was a 22-gun frigate, and the HMS Serapis was a 42-gun fifth-rate ship of the line. And that battle was basically between four ships, 2 English ships and 2 American ships. And that's normally how naval combat was, because you have to find these ships. So, you take something like the Napoleonic War, and where there was a lot of naval combat. You get a movie like Master Commander out of it. And basically what would happen is you'd have fleets, and each fleet would be responsible for patrolling a certain area. And you could have, the surprise is from the movie. Victory might have had some ships with it all the time, but for the most part, the fleets just had, you're going to go hunt these grounds. You're going to hunt these, 40 leagues of water. We're going to go hunt these ones. Do what?
I said that's all I see for the ships involved.
Yeah.
According to Wiki.
The Bonhomme Richard, and the Alliance. So that Palais, the Brigantine Vengeance, and that captured schooner were not actually part of the fight. They left. They went after the merchant ships. It was just the Bonhomme Richard and the Alliance. The Alliance kind of chickened out and just went after the Scarborough at the beginning, and then turned around and, after about an hour and a half, fired 2 broadsides at the Serapis.
That's no good.
It's no good.
If you couldn't guess, I'm a really big fan of John Paul Jones.
Look, I'm just a fan of this this time period.
Super interesting. Not covered nearly enough.
What's really funny is Elizabeth does so much to not only help England, but to kind of set England up for the rest of history. And she's the last Tudor.
The last
of the House of Tudor. Henry VIII's house. So Tudor went from Henry VII.
Were they gassy or help people study?
That's kind of where my mind was too.
Yeah,
sorry,
my simpleton mind.
Yeah.
No, the etymology of the word tutor for the teachers is a Latin word that means to help.
Oh.
I only know that because I looked it up yesterday. That's the only reason I know.
Why? Because you're thinking about this stuff and then
I was talking to someone, and Diamond, was I not talking to you?
Yeah, we were talking for a while.
Yeah, so then it must have been you. I was talking to you last night, and I think you asked the same question, and so I looked it up.
Oh yeah, the origin of the word tutor.
Well, we lost Jamie.
Oh no, I think he's grabbing something. He's still backstage. So let's move into the defeat of the Spanish Armada.
Okay.
So by the time Great and Most Fortunate Navy finally reached Spain in autumn of 1588, it had lost as many as 60 of its 130 ships and suffered some 15,000 deaths. God damn. The vast majority of Spanish Armada's losses were caused by disease and foul weather. That makes perfect sense. Being out on the open sea that long at that time period. I mean, water spoils, right? I don't even think they bring much water. They brought mostly ale from.
Oh, you bring a lot of water.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they knew it was spoiling, so isn't that where the whole you bring ale, you still get hydrated, but you're also super drunk? Like, isn't that
so if my understanding of the ale thing at seas is it is a way of maintaining order because you're able you
I have heard that.
Something
I've
we
heard
all
both.
want is beer. You're drinking a beer right now. We all want alcohol. And something that having that on the battlefield or in an area where you need discipline is you can always just go, hey, look, you just get some more beer.
Well, so
Reward.
I've looked into this a bit too, and I found two main reasons. A being that and it does, I don't know which one comes first in importance, but A being that it didn't spoil as quick as water did because rats would go to the water, they would infect the water, you couldn't drink the water. Ale was
contamination.
which was much better. And what you had just said, which is it's something you want and need, which is actually where the idea of free coffee comes from for offices. So most offices that you work in today, what do they serve you? Coffee for free, coffee and tea. And so it's that idea that people were more, if they knew that they had ale, they'd be more willing to work, they'd be more productive. And when the discovery of coffee from, I believe, Africa and the South Americas was found, they realized, okay, well, if we transfer out the coffee or the ale with the coffee, they'll be more productive, they won't be drunk, all this other stuff. But yeah, that's another part of history that I know I've looked into.
That translates well to modern military. I mean,
I was going to say,
you give them caffeine and nicotine, and we'll go all day.
I don't know if they still do, but until I think relatively recently, the English military or the British military still got rations of liquor with their MREs.
See, and I know at least just from what I've listened to from the Sean Ryan show, alcohol is definitely like they're not paying for your alcohol, but they're not gonna like shame you if you have it on your off period, or your off time. I Dog, you could probably speak better to that. Like when you were serving,
quick fix to your things you have to suppress to be efficient.
But was alcohol like prevalent? Well, I know, but was alcohol prevalent? Like, would you be able to
buy? We were deployed.
Really? It was
as
more
soon
when
as
you
we came back. So when we left Afghanistan, we flew into Kyrgyzstan to then fly back. But when you got there, you were allowed 2 beers because for the Marines it'd been 8 months, so you get 2 beers, and they were 16-ounce beers too.
Oh,
but it was like your little reward. Of course, we had to pay for them. But
how quickly did you drink those?
The first one slammed. The second one, I nursed it.
You enjoyed the second one.
Favorite.
I think that's what I would do as well. I think I would. That first one, 5-6 seconds. The second one, I think, would probably take like a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, you do the old tornado.
So, you guys are familiar. I'm going to go on a tangent for a second. You guys have seen the movie Jarhead, yes?
I have not. No.
So, Dog, like when Jake Gyllenhaal, I always forget how to say it. When he purchases from when he purchases that big canteen, the 40-gallon of liquor, like it might not happen in every I don't know the terminology, camp or whatever, but platoon, like is that, I imagine it's not a regular thing, but does that type of stuff happen where there is a connect who just like high up happens to have a bunch and is willing to sell it to you, or is that more of a Hollywood?
Yeah, that might have been a Hollywood, but also very early 2000s kind of thing, maybe.
I see what you're saying.
It wasn't. I don't know. Because of all the war, and then of course social media starting to come on the rise too. A magnifying glass was put on the military and the military life, so I feel like they cracked down a good bit on that.
Well, I was going to say, because during like Desert Storm, I'm sure you could because there's the whole thing of you could write back to your family, hey, can you send me this? Like if there were
packages,
care packages. Like if there were a few bottles of liquor, would they confiscate that?
Okay, so if they find it,
I'm
going to
try
that answer.
You tried.
My mother and I did not request this, but we're heavy sweet tea fans. I was out there with my
You got sent
best friend
Twisted
Tyler,
Teas.
and my mom sent me a whole case of sweet tea, and it happened to be that
The
that
Twisted
Pure
Teas.
Leaf bottle or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, purely.
And we're sitting there cracking them open. We're like, oh my gosh, because all we've had is Arizona sweet tea, and that
Sure,
if
sure,
you had real
sure.
sweet tea, it'll do, but it's
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
same thing.
It'll do in a pinch.
So my mom sends me this care package, and we get to opening the tea, and one of them, and thankfully it was the one that I grabbed, and I went to crack it, and I noticed the seal didn't crack. I was like,
Oh
that's
God,
weird.
she hooked
I
you
went-
up.
And I went, and I was like,
Oh!
that's straight burban right now.
That's
Damn,
beautiful.
mom.
Your mom is a beautiful person, dude.
What'd you do?
Did you tell
start
anyone?
sipping it? Did you start passing it around?
Well, no, because I opened the care package at the shop. Like
Uh-huh.
So you
everyone was
closed that
around
one
and shit.
and brought it back.
So we brought it back to the cans, and we
Ah,
we didn't even finish the bottle because it had been so long since we even had a
Of
sip,
course,
right?
of
We were
course.
dry. So if it was like a super rough day, we would come home and wet our whistle, and
Oh, yeah.
and that was it. When we put it away, it was more than halfway full by the time we left. Like we were honestly so afraid of being,
Caught.
caught with it or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
and
yeah.
we used extreme caution.
Good.
That's an awesome story.
That's funny, man. Because I just wanted to know, because I was watching this movie. I'm like, all right, how much of this was like.
Well, it's kind of like, do you ever see what was it? The HBO show Generation Kill?
Mm.
So
I got to meet the real Iceman.
Yeah. In
Awesome.
the first episode, they're introduced with the Rolling Stones guy that's gonna the magazine, not the band, that's going to infill with them and watch everything and then write about it. And so they actually, the people from the Humvee that he's going to be in, Iceman, the guy that doesn't shut up, and the one that always wants to shoot his saw, those two guys, they get him to go to the
BRB.
y'all call it the PX or the exchange?
Either or.
Okay, so the Army calls it the PX, the Navy calls it the exchange. So
just-
they get him to go over there and buy up just a buttload of shit. I think there's a line that's like he had to max out his credit card or something like that. And because they wouldn't sell it to the Marines, they'd sell it to civilians, but not Marines, which is dumb.
Right.
Because in order to get into the exchange today in the U.S., you have to be retired or
signed in. Like you have to be brought on base. Yeah.
But even to be able to get into the exchange, you have to have because someone has to have their ID.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Because my mom took a trip to almost every base that I was at, and I was able to escort her into places,
which
like
is
that.
great because dude, you save so much money going to the exchange. Well, you do and you don't, because you go there knowing you don't have to pay tax, so you buy a bunch more stuff.
Also, we're severely underpaid and broke as hell, and drink a lot. So we didn't have a whole lot of disposable income. So
well, I meant more like, so my dad was an officer and had a different job. So
that's
we spent a lot more money than
we worked for a living. So
what'd you say?
I said we worked for a living on the enlisted side. So yeah.
What a dick.
Okay, so let's pull us out of this rabbit hole. I want to.
That's another thing you need. You need a cutscene for getting out of the rabbit hole.
Pulling a rabbit by the carrot.
Definitely true. Out of the hat for sure.
Yeah, either that or
out of the hat. I like that better.
or
is for
pulling it
sure.
out of the hole. Since we're down the rabbit hole, I think pulling it out of the hole would be better.
It's a fitting
Caleb, you
name.
seemed a
Thank
little
you.
obsessed with pulling it out of the hole.
Yeah.
Just like-
Well,
Never pull out.
you
Anyway,
pull out all the time, all the time. Pull out.
Anyway,
There is one little story about the Armada that I have.
All right, well,
so when the Armada was sighted, so France had semaphore towers, which were these concrete structures that they spun things in different directions to kind of signal what was happening on the coast. And within an hour or two, Paris knew what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
England used fires. So England literally lit the beacons when they sighted the Armada. And there's a funny story. It's probably not true, but there's a funny story that when Francis Drake was first told of the sighting, he was actually playing bowls, which I think is a type of bowling, at Plymouth. And so he is believed to have said, there's plenty of time to finish the game and beat the Spaniards. But there's, of course, no reliable evidence for that.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up the Armada and then kind of get into our finishing thoughts and whatnot. But let me share my screen quickly. Oh, it's already pulled up. So the defeat of the Spanish Armada. By the time the great wait, I already read that, right? I did. We hit fending off the Spanish. Okay, so fending off the Spanish fleet, the island nation saved itself from invasion and won recognition as one of Europe's most fearsome sea powers. The clash also established the superiority of high cannons in naval combat, signaling the dawn of a new era in warfare at sea. While the Spanish Armada is now remembered as one of history's great military blunders, it didn't mark the end of conflict between England and Spain. In 1589, Queen Elizabeth launched a failed English Armada against Spain. King Philip II, meanwhile, later rebuilt his fleet, dispatched 2 more Spanish armadas in 1590s, both of which were scattered by storms. It wasn't until 1604, over 16 years after the original Spanish Armada set sail, that a peace treaty was finally signed, ending the Anglo-Spanish War as a stalemate.
And
so as a whole, how long did it last?
How long did this 36 years, 46 years?
So it, from what I, at least when you Google it, they say this war is 1585 to 1604. So yes, 19 years.
19 years. But it was part of the 80 Years' War. The 80 Years' War was that Dutch thing I was talking about earlier. It's kind of like how England and France had the 100 Years' War, but it's really just 3 wars that took place over 100 years. There was a bunch of shit at the beginning, bunch of shit in the middle, a bunch of shit at the end. In between those periods, there was like 30 years on each side of that middle thing that was relatively peaceful.
Gotcha.
No, I mean, so this is we all, when I first showed up and we started interacting a lot more, a lot of our time spent was with Sea of Thieves. And, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I don't play with you guys anymore really right now, but, I randomly just looked up English wars, saw this one. I thought, because I didn't actually, I don't consider myself a history buff. I consider myself just someone that's interested in history. And when I never knew that the Spanish and the English legitimately went into a hot war. So that's what caused me to go down this rabbit hole. And it started with Wikipedia. And then I started going down different videos and whatnot. And it's really interesting. Like there was no ground battle. Like it wasn't an invasion of any sort. It was the fight was on the seas. And
Well, there was that siege though.
there was one siege, maybe a couple smaller ones, but for the most part, this war was done through naval battles. So yeah, I really appreciate, and I'm not going to end it right now, but I really appreciate you guys joining in on this. I think this is a really interesting topic, and there are many more we can cover with England, which I plan to do. But any final thoughts on specifically this war for both of you? Let's go around the horn, dog.
I mean, for someone who doesn't is not versed in this whatsoever, I've learned a good bit. Extremely interesting, and I'm aware of a couple of documentaries, and I may have to be checking one or two of them out. But yeah, it's super interesting. I definitely want to get more into the ships and battles like that. That's very cool.
How about you, Caleb?
I think one of the things that I really took from this and was kind of reminded of is just how not only how great Elizabeth really was, but the sheer importance of that 20 years of history that literally led to the next 400 years. Elizabeth dies and James becomes king, the first king of Britain, really taking that dream of Alfred to an extent that even Alfred never really thought was possible. And I think that's a really cool symbolism there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I didn't hear you, dog. What'd you say?
I said, why do we fall?
So we could get ourselves back up?
To get back up, Master Bruce.
So I want to thank everyone who showed up today.
Oh, Alfred. Okay. I was like, where the fuck did that come from?
I'm not sure if we're gonna do a aliens and conspiracy stream next week. I'm thinking Genghis Khan is going to be my next topic. So I'd love to have both of you guys back on for that.
100%.
I take the Genghis Khan stuff because I really, and we can talk about it a little bit, but I really started getting into that history after watching Marco Polo on Netflix.
Oh, Netflix, yeah.
And so I started to really kind of dig into Genghis Khan, the creation of the Silk Road, all that other stuff, the military tactics and the brutality of the Khans, the infighting within the Mongolian Empire. So I'm thinking that's going to be next week episode. I hope both of you guys can make it. Thank you to everyone that showed up and who will show up to watch this video if it spreads around a bit. And I hope all of you guys a good night. We're going to get out of here. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe to Star Wars Dog and to King's Advisors.
Muchas gracias.